Hi, so this is my sad, trusty Oncidium something Chloe fragrance or whatever, I'm not sure really on the ID. But it desperately needs a repotting. And I was going to wait till the blooms were done, but the blooms, this is its third time blooming, I think, this year. So these blooms are kind of, I don't know, it's like a stress bloom. So I'm going to be repotting this into semi-hydro. I'm going to be dividing it and repotting it. So this plant, I might set it back. You know, this might, because this is a very trusty Oncidium orchid of mine that has been a very reliable bloomer. Very reliable, like really good. And so that's why I've put off repotting it for so long, is because I'm like afraid that I'm going to set it back and it's never going to bloom for me again. But it really needs it. We have wrinkly bulbs. There's just not any room in the pot. A lot of the growth is starting to just kind of grow up out of the pot. So it's time. It's time. I just got to do it. So I am wearing one glove because I got a splinter underneath my nail. Super painful. Not cool. I've been working on just like Epsom salts soaks for long periods of time, and it's working its way out, but I don't want to get an infection, so that's why I'm wearing one glove. Catch-all tray here. Yeah, there it is. So, oh, I was already liking the leca beads. I guess I potted in this much leca beads. Forgot I did that. So it's super dry because I've been like totally neglecting my poor plants. But when you're repotting a plant that's overly dry, the dirt just falls out. And so it makes it for an easier repot. Oh, I forgot to get my things. Okay, so we have old growth here, which I'm probably just going to be removing that bulb. I'm going to soak it and just try to find a spot where I can divide it off. Sometimes, once you've removed enough and detangled them enough, it's easy to decide where to divide the plant. I've tried dividing plants before in the past, and it worked, but the plants usually took way longer. Like there's like no soil, it's just all roots. See how this goes. And I still have new growth here. I'm thinking. So I just broke that guy off. Don't do that. Don't really this little guy either. Also, taking off bulbs gives you room and gives your plant room for growth. Okay, so I'm going to soak this too. I'll be back. So I've got my tools. And this little guy, in case I need that. I don't think I will. This one will be good for splitting, dividing the plant. This pot, this beautiful, awesome bucket here, I'm soaking it in to just make it a little more malleable. So when you're doing a repot, if you use dry, if you let it totally dry out, it's easier for all the dirt and stuff to come off. But if the roots are dry, they are more brittle and therefore more prone to breaking. So I like to just do a little bit, just shake it off if you can. Shake it off. And then soak it if you need to do more, you know, of really picking at it. So, alright. So let's take this and we're going to work on hacking it apart, really, ultimately. So now it's wetter. And just going to kind of...
So I have this. There's new growth here. This could be a tiny baby plant. If I can donate it to someone. But I don't want to use a clippers unless I actually have to. So really just kind of grabbing a chunk and just trying to work that chunk out. Remember that the new roots are going to be on the outside of the plant. So if I'm working from here, most of my new roots are going to be here. Old roots come inside, usually. So, I got a good chunk out here. Alright, I'm going to take these roots, and I'm going to use this. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Ripping technique. It sounds awful. And it's pretty hard on the wrist. And I got an old lady wrist. Not that I am an old lady, but I broke it years ago and have arthritis in it. So, yeah. Oh, look at that. Isn't that? So, there was no way I was going to rip through this root blob here. But, there we are. So, there's the tiny baby plant. This plant is definitely going to take a long time to rebloom and mature. This is practically a seedling. I'm going to call that a seedling division. I'll just put that over there. I'm going to rip this bulb off. This bulb really isn't... Oh, let's see what happens. So I was pulling on this bulb and see what... Ah, there we go. Alright, so find an old bulb division. And look at that. I have a new growth here. I have this bulb. I got this bulb and this bulb. This will go as a division. This division will be a little older than that one, but still. I like keeping them as specimen plants because, well, I just think they look nicer, one, and it's easier just to water one plant versus, you know, a whole bunch of plants.
So let's put this guy together. See, now it comes this. Now I have to divide this one up even more. So we got this new growth here with 2 spikes on it. There's old trusty with new growth there. Let's see. Let's see if we can kind of just, pull and twist. It really sucks dividing plants. Another reason why I don't like to do it. Let's do it a little bit more.
So, I'm thinking in order to divide this, I'm going to have to cut through this part here. I'm just going to do it. Looks like it'll rip it. Well, yeah, we got some cuts. We have some new growth here. Try not to damage the new growth, but... You know.
Easier said than done when you're really getting in there. Oh, the blooms. Yeah, I don't really care about the blooms at this point. The plant is just in such need. Something. And this plant just loves. Okay. Alright, so we got a division point here and here. I think I'm just gonna
cut it. Because ripping it, yeah, it's not really all that great. Because when you're ripping them, you're taking off the stuff, the outer coating of the roots, which isn't necessarily the best idea. But the root will still function, even if some of that's cut off. Should clean this up a little bit more. This one, we got some, yeah, see? Unneeded roots. Really didn't need these roots, but we got these healthy, happy roots here, coming from this one. So, because these bulbs will still have nutrients, and it was a pretty traumatic experience for this plant, either way you look at it, but it did not need this dense root clump here. So, we're starting over. Semi-hydro. This one should be a good one. We have 3 bulbs and a new growth here. This new growth, since I've done this, since I've stressed the plant by ripping it apart, I really don't think this new growth will give me a spike. But this new growth will put out another new growth, and that one could ultimately flower. So this one could flower in about 2 years. Alright, well, I'm going to get to figuring out what pot I'm going to put them in, and I'll be back. So the thing when you're repotting into semi-hydro to remember is that sometimes the old roots will die off. So just, take that into consideration. So I've decided to pick this pot. And I put my lucky beads at the bottom. And now I'm going to put these And here I'm just positioning the plant. Now I'm putting the leca beads all around it, giving it a little tap, little squeeze, boom, done. So I'm going to continue doing that with the rest. I don't really think that you guys need to see all that. It's kind of repetitious. Alright, so there they are, all potted up. Here's the little one. It's going to be treated kind of like a seedling. So I'm going to keep it in that. Tends to work pretty well for Oncidiums. And then here's a little division that, let's see if I can find somebody that wants it. And then these two. So, pot it up. When you're potting into semi-hydro, one thing, pot size doesn't really matter as much because it's really hard to overwater these plants when they are in semi-hydro and once they've established themselves. So you can do a bigger pot. Like, really, I could have taken all these divisions and repotted them into a bigger pot together in semi-hydro, but I didn't really have a pot big enough for that, so split them up. And yeah, so there you go. That's about this and this. These two are really good sized divisions. That's how big your divisions should be. You should have more than 3 bulbs, ideally. This one, we have this old sad bulb, still does some work, and 2 bulbs and a new growth. This is decent. This is alright. But this one's not going to bloom probably for 2 years or more. These guys, we'll see. They could just say like, oh, it's cool and no problems. This one's going to take a long time. Alright, thank you and happy growing.